Hello! Welcome to my talk on book damages and repairs and how to spot damages on books for libraries. Yeah, I have a live studio audience of 1 again. Woo! Okay, so most obvious things you can spot on books is obvious damage on the outside, like paint or food or rips or writing or various things like that. So not good, but there's various ways to fix these things with a little bit of a damp cloth or something. Then there's also possible pages falling out. So this one's been repaired. We've got a bit of a magic tape here to hold this page in, and it looks very nice. It's got a bit of a matte finish, so it doesn't even like stand out when you're just flipping through the book, but it holds it together, and that's quite good. You can see a bit of aging sometimes. The pages go a little bit yellow, a little bit brown. Sometimes it can be a bit worse if there's a bit more sun damage from books being too close to windows or doors. Then how you can solve for some of the obvious damages on the outside, like that one having paint on it, would be to have a plastic cover. Some libraries put on a plastic cover like this or something similar that will protect a certain amount of books from water damage and from a bit of dust, a bit of dirt, things like that. You'd still have to dust the middle of the pages. Sometimes you'll see libraries that are a bit dusty and the middle of the pages will be really dusty, but that's very minimal. But yes, a plastic cover will keep things under better condition. And sometimes there'll be a little bit of puckering or aging on pages. These ones have a tiny bit of foxing, so they're just like age spots as the book changes chemical composition as it ages. These things just happen a little bit. Another obvious thing to look for that libraries don't like is lozenging, where the pages get out of whack like this. They can go a bit more to one side or another side. It's not great because it's basically showing the wear of the book being like shoved into too tight of a shelf or too tightly packed against the books next to it, or possibly the book's falling over and ruining the alignment of the pages. There isn't too much you can do for lozenging, so libraries would rather just avoid lozenging if possible. So you could do that with either a bit of the plastic covering that might help a little bit, but even better than that would be a contact covering, which keeps the books a bit more straight and holds them together a bit better. And it's also a great thing to do if your book is falling apart, but it can stop that in the first place. And the most obvious thing that you should really look for in books that are being returned or donated to libraries is if there is water damage. So the most obvious thing would be, is the book wet or damp? Does it smell wet or damp? If it smells wet, that's probably not good and it might need to be thrown out. A certain amount of libraries won't accept books that are a bit water damaged like this one, where it's like a bit rippled and a bit strange and misshapen, and the pages have a little bit of like water marking to them, which is undesirable. If books have been water damaged for too long or wet for too long, they can develop usually black mold or any other kind of mold, which is really not good because it's incredibly hard to fix that. You can use some sort of bleach solution that some libraries will do if it's an incredibly rare or important book. But in most cases, if a book is moldy, the librarians will just throw it out. Because there really isn't much saving that, and the bleach might just damage the book in a different way, so you're just sort of having a double damaged book in different ways. And the other thing you'll notice in water damaged books is like a little puddle or stain looking section, which is obviously not desirable, and it may make water damage may make the book harder to read in future, as it will misshape the book even if it doesn't get any mold to it. But on an older book, sometimes there's just a tiny bit of water damage like this one you can see here. Libraries generally won't hold on to books till they're this old and this yellowed or browned, or foxed in this case. Like that's a lot of foxing again, just age spots of the book. But yeah, I thought, as I've been to a lot of free libraries, I have some examples of some really old books that are lying around. But yeah, so they can get this brown or this yellow over time. Another thing libraries will look for is dog earring, and so librarians will go through a book and they'll see a big page corner flipped over like this, folded over, and they'll take them all out and they'll try to put them back so the book will be in the best condition for other users and last a bit better as well, because if you keep folding pages over you might tear pages eventually. And another thing librarians look for is if there's writing in a book, which in most cases can't be taken out unless you've got an erasable pen, or if it's in pencil and you can rub it out, but if there's a lot of writing or highlighting, it's pretty hard to get out. So a lot of librarians will end up having to charge users for a damaged book at that point, because they want to replace it rather than have a book that's not very nice. And yeah, this is just another free library copy, so not to worry with this one. And then you can get on to taping and gluing books to repair them. So if you have a spine that's coming off or pages that are falling out, there are ways to fix that and to save a bit of money on books, so you don't have to just keep buying new ones. And so for example, we've got this book that the pages have completely come out of the cover, but the glue and the original binding is still in place. So for this one, I'm thinking I will just glue it back together. It's even in two pieces, so I'm gonna have to hold it together nicely to make this work out well for this repair. So for this, we can just take a little bit of PVA glue. Oh no, don't think about the lid again. Wowie.
Can you get it out?
I don't think I can.
No, no, it's,
I know. Oh, got it. There we go. Sorry about that. We'll keep rolling with the punches, but yes, I'll hold the book relatively steady to try to keep the pages together as they are trying to sit now, so it will adhere to the book as well as possible. So we just take quite a bit of the PVA glue and work it along where the original glue and binding was, and try not to have too much so you don't spill it out onto the pages of the book and glue the wrong things together, or make the book harder to open in future. And then you can fix it to the spine again, and you need to make sure that the cover is the right way up and the right way around, and that you haven't accidentally put it upside down, because then you'll have to try to repair it again, which would be very unfortunate. And then you can take a couple of rubber bands and or a heavy book and table, so like you put it on the table and then you put a heavy book on top of it, and it will help the book stay in better shape. And so then you've got your book back together, that you can possibly contact to keep it even more together in future, but it should be nicely glued together now, which it seems to be. So then I'll put a nice heavy book on it and it can dry together nicely like that for the next 24 hours, and then I'll check on it and hopefully the book will have adhered back together. And if not, I'll put a little bit more glue on it, and or possibly some tape depending on how the pages are holding together. If there's one that's trying to come out, I'll put some tape on it. But yeah, that's a nice easy fix that would save a lot of libraries quite a lot of money, because a little bit of PVA glue is a lot cheaper than buying an entire new book that could cost you anywhere between $10 and $40 in a lot of cases for a lot of paperbacks. And then I have another example of a book that you can repair. So this one has had the first 2 pages come out. So what we can do in this case, instead of taking the entirety of the page count out of the book, you can just take a little bit of magic tape, and you can align it with the book. Oh, well, actually not align with the book. Take the tape, oh no, I stuck to it. Take the tape a little bit higher than the top of the pages, once you've got the pages aligned well with the book again. So then you run the tape down the length of the height of the book, and then you can cut the tape off at the bottom and the top, and you've got a nicely repaired book. So it'll stick out like this, and you can just take your scissors, hopefully a bit sharper than mine are, but what can you do? And then you can take it out of the bottom as well. And so that's the repair on the front of that page. And then you can then you need to do a repair on the back of the page as well, because or else the page will not hold back together into the book, adhere back together into the book. And so you tape it down the top of the page, you run the tape down the length, well, the height of the book, parallel with the spine of it all. And so it looks like this. You make sure it goes in and it's adhering well. Then you cut off the excess again. And you've got yourself some pages that will now hold into your book rather nicely. And so you won't have to worry about them falling out again. The magic tape's really good. It's got a kind of matte, kind of shiny finish on it, and it will hold those pages in without having to completely rebind a book, which could be very annoying and expensive. So again, libraries can save money on books by repairing them rather than replacing them. And you can keep hold of books for longer. A lot of public libraries won't do this, but you'll find school libraries do it sometimes because they tend to hold on to the same books for a lot longer than a public library does. Like a public library will have a popular book for a couple of years, and then they'll find that people aren't reading it anymore after 2 to 5 years, and so they'll sell off their copies for a few dollars at the front of the library or something, or they'll recycle them or throw them out. And school libraries will hold on to books for 5 or 10 years if they're still being used and if they're in still like relatively good condition. So gluing books back together for schools and putting pages back in like this is very helpful. So I don't think I can quickly show this in a video, but I can run you through how to contact a book as well. So what you do to contact a book, like I have this one, would be to take your contact like this, your clear contact, put your book in the middle of it. Oops. Put your book in the middle of it like this, with about 2 centimeters excess on each side, and then you will slowly peel the contact off of the book and place it onto the front cover. Then you will leave the paper up till the spine and make sure the cover's sitting well. So you could have let's see, I'm just thinking. Okay, so then you'll have to cut the contact to sit nicely with the book and cover it. Okay, so yes, then you will have to have it sit nicely with the book. So what you'll do is you'll peel the contact off of the paper here, and then you'll slowly work it onto the spine as well. But you can cut the excess corners so they will sit on the book and protect it. And you'll end up with a nicely contacted book, which is what a lot of schools do. Public libraries seem to not be doing that as much. But this one I did earlier, you will see I've got a bit of extra support on the spine, which you can do to keep the book in place. You can have all your corners covered, and it will protect the cover better, and it will hold the book in a better shape. And then when you do cover a book, you contact the bottom before you contact the side, like cover it, because then the side will hold the bottom in place and it'll keep it all in a better shape. But it's a helpful preventative measure to keep books in better condition. I hope this has been helpful, and that you've seen me demonstrate how to repair some books, and that you could possibly repair some books yourself. All right, thank you.